Hello out there. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hope everyone's doing really well. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of On the Cutting Room Floor. I'm the host, Tony Harvey. This is presented by Publicity Agents. So thanks for tuning in. Here to talk about some NBA activities. Specifically, the Sacramento Kings, who will be playing their second game in the play-in tournament, the NBA play-in tournament, and they will be going up against the New Orleans Pelicans in the state of Louisiana, New Orleans, at the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans on April 19th, 2024. So that'll be tomorrow, Friday. Yes, Sacramento King, they dispatched the Golden State Warriors the other night in an epic way, and they seem to be on a little bit of a roll. They got some momentum going on, and I was quite optimistic that they would win that game, and they did that because, as we know, the Warriors, four-time NBA champions, they seem to be on the downside of their glorious run, which has date all the way back to 2014. But the Kings did excellent getting rid of them and moving on. But that's it. That right there, just one game, is still a one-game scenario, meaning if you lose this one, you are out. In New Orleans, they will move into that. They will slide into that 8th seed, and they will face the Oklahoma City Thunder. But just like the Golden State Warriors game, I feel confident that the Sacramento Kings will win this too. I know New Orleans will be without Zion Williamson, who injured his hamstring in that Los Angeles Laker loss the other night, playing game as well. So they won't have the services of Zion Williamson. But I still think the Kings, if they play the same way they did or better, and I'm talking about on the defensive end, they should be able to pull this out. And from my understanding, they would win this game and move directly into the playoffs to play the Oklahoma City Thunders, who are number one. And I like those chances too. But first things first, they have to take care of New Orleans, who have beaten them 5 times this season. So we really want to make that 5-1 within the next 36 hours. So let's try to do that. But the Sacramento King, they're looking really good. They are looking really good. So So no Zion Williamson. He will be out with a hamstring injury. They do have Brandon Ingram back in there. I don't think he played well in that last game. So we'll see how he responds. Those things, they don't really matter. I'm pretty sure he's going to get his butt out there on that court to help his team out there in New Orleans. So it's a lot on the line as usual. One and done. The winner advances. The loser, you could think about it during the offseason. You have all the offseason to take care of business. Right now, as far as taking care of business, I think the Sacramento Kings, they're really going to have to hone in on the defensive end. What I liked about the Warriors is how they defended Stephen Curry, who had 22 points in that game, and Klay Thompson, who was 0 for 10 shooting from the field, and he misfired on all 6 of his shots in three-point territory. I'm sure it's one of the worst postseason games of his career. But that's Klay Thompson. He had a bad game. I don't think that's really going to hold any bearing on his future in the NBA. He very well could go back to play, and I don't like to use the word very. He could go back to play, stay in the Warriors uniform, and he could move on. But I won't even talk about that. Right now, what I'm talking about is the Kings' defense and what they will have to do against New Orleans. Yes, the Kings defended Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson extremely, extremely well. They were really aggressive on their shooting attempts. Of course, you would have to be if you're missing 10 shots. But Stephen, who had 22 points, that would look good for anybody else wearing that uniform or anybody else in opposing uniform. But he was averaging like 38 points a game in these playing games. So to hold him that much under his average and postseason situation is I have to give you high marks for that. Going to have to do it for the Pelicans, who was a great 3-point shooting team. And quote unquote, they got the old man in the building, CJ McCollum. He's been killing them. What do you have? 31, 32 points the last time the Kings played them here, April 11th. They won that game by 12. I think it was 135 to 123 or something like that. Okay, and he was automatic. 11 for 18 shooting from the field, 9 for 15 in 3-point territory. And he also had an accomplice, Trey Murphy III. He had 27 points, and he was 5 for 10, I believe, or maybe 6 for 10 shooting 3-pointers against the Kings. And that Kings win. So these are the guys that they're going to have to hone in on, especially CJ McCollum. Okay. Now, you know they're going to be putting up a lot of shots now if they don't have the services of Zion Williamson. But those are the guys that they have to focus in on, okay, on the defense. So I don't care what are you doing. Do it again. Do it at a higher level, okay? And that's all of that. Physicality, blitzes, communications, double teams, steals, deflections, offensive rebounding, all of that for 48 minutes. 48 minutes. I'm sure you're not going to be worried about the 5 losses that you currently have against this team, because this is a one and done situation. You would rather have this opportunity than any opportunity out there to get into this playoff, to go against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I feel good about your chances. There's one thing, if the coach is optimistic about it, you know they are too. All you got to do is just go out there and handle your business. Also, they need to key in on another person too that, to me, could be an X factor, because he certainly has been for this team in the last 2 or 3 meetings that the Kings have played New Orleans. And that's Jose Alvarado. This guy, I think he had 13 or 14 points in the last game. But what getting me about this, you got to keep a leash on this guy. Okay? You got to be honed in on him, too, on what he's doing offensively and defensively. Because he's sneaky, he's crafty, he's quick-witted. He's just a pure athlete. And he's really a nucleus energy guy for the Pelicans. There was one point when they played the Kings on April 11th, if I'm not mistaken. Jose stole the ball. If this is the offensive sequence. Stole the ball, I think at half court, but he doesn't go in for a layup. He went to the corner. So he's in 3-point territory. Take the shot, he makes it. That's what I'm talking about. And he's good for these type of things. And if you turn your back on him, on the offensive end, he will steal the ball. He's really, really deceptively quick. So he's kind of like the glue guy. You want to control him, contain him as well to win this game. So I'm looking forward to those 3 players for the Pelicans, for the Pels. Okay, CJ McCollum, of course, Trey Murphy, Jose Alvarado, and then on down the line, because you know they will have to deal with Herb, their other shooting guard. I'm not sure who's going to fill. I think hey, look, and what's his name? Dyson McDaniel, if I'm not mistaken, the Australian. Okay, I think he had about 10 or 12 points against him, but he's a utility guy. He's a reserve, but he can play on both ends of the floor for this team, and he's one of those players who he doesn't do too much. He just does enough to, support his role for this team, and he does well. I think he's a second-year player. Yes, right, because he was in the same draft that Keegan Murray was in. So those players you have to pay attention to. You must pay attention to. Because everything is out there right now. Everything is out there right now. And the ball is in your court. And Jonas Valanciunas, yes. You know, he had 13 points and 10 rebounds, 3 assists, in 33 minutes against the Kings in that 135-123 victory. Golden one April 11th. Have to keep your eye on him. I did mention Jose Alvarado, Dyson Daniels. I said McDaniel. Daniels. Okay, yes, he had 10 points. He did have 10 points. And let's see. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure Dyson Daniel might move into the starting position since Zion won't be playing. So this team, they offer a lot of problems for the Kings, as we know. You know, with their size and their athletic ability and their length. So these are things that are a concern, but you still can win this game. I still like your prospects of winning this game. Okay. Some of the aspects, and there are a lot of aspects that goes on with the Pelican. As I mentioned before, their 3-point shooting, they were 22 for 40 shooting from 3-point territory in the last game that they played on April 11th. Their passing, they had 35 assists. And as I mentioned, their length and their size. So you could match up with them mentally, shouldn't be any problem. Now, as far as the Kings, in their areas, they can't have a slow start. Definitely can't have a bad third quarter. Not against this team. Okay. And you must make your 3-point shots. You definitely have to do that. Domas, one thing that I noticed about the Warriors game, they left him out there, you know, in three-point territory a couple of times. And he had a lot of opportunity to shoot some mid-range jumpers, which he didn't do too well against the Warriors, even though he did have a solid game. He's going to have to knock those shots down. Okay, I don't care if you are standing out there in three-point land. Got to knock that shot down, 1 or 2, maybe 3, no more than that. And those middies, okay, over your boy Valanciunas, Jonas Valanciunas. I know y'all best of friends. You're going to have to make those shots over him in this game too, in order to be successful. So I'm looking forward to that. Keon Ellis, first playoff game against the Warriors. Oh man, crazy. On both ends of the floor. 15 points. What do you have? Three steals and 3 blocks on the defensive end. Knocked out a few threes. Hey, I'm not even going to worry about this guy. I mean, he's a baller. He's a baller. I know Kenny Caraway had mentioned on their radio show that he should be the starting 2 going forward into the future. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. I have no qualms of his position on this team. And the reason why, more so than anything, his defense, something that head coach Mike Brown been preaching all year. He has that player. And Keon is getting better each and every game. Okay, let that be noted. He's playing like he's been playing about 3 or 4 years right now. He hardly makes any mistakes. Okay, he's an excellent passer. He knows what the players like as far as, you know, where they want the ball, and those things that, and he's always on the go. Okay, and what I mean by being on the go, he's guarding his man, but he's watching the other action that's going on with the other player, with the guy who has the ball, at least on the defensive end. And he can get a deflection, he can get a steal by guarding his man. Okay. He's always on the go. Great court awareness. And this is from a guy who was entered the draft early, coming out of Alabama, but was not chosen in the 2022 NBA draft. He signed with the Kings as a free agent, 2-way contract, played 1 full good season, with the Stockton Kings. This season, he moves up, had an impressive game and a terrible loss in Houston. He comes in, he scored 14, 15 points. The rest is history. He was forever in the graces of Mike Brown. And if I'm not mistaken, Keon Ellis is from Florida. He started off at community college in Florida. That is an incredible tale. And it should let everybody out there know, because they say it's a 1 in a million shot to make it to the NBA. But it's also a timely thing too. He was just in the right places at the right time. Of course, he did not get drafted, but look where he's at. And then you got a 3-year, $5 million deal out of that. He's going to be with the King for a long time. long time. Long time. So, and Davion Mitchell. You know, I mentioned this on one of the digital commentaries a while back within the last couple months. I see Davion rolling around town on a bike. He was over there by Crocker Art Museum. One day I was driving, just riding, his bike. It seemed like that was a routine. It was practical, what I'm trying to say here. It was just a practical thing that he incorporated in his system. And what I mean by that, his workout. So he's been doing a lot, as far as shooting. He obtained the services of Stephen Curry's shooting coach. He's been working out hecka hard. We see him in these Instagram videos and Twitter videos of him just grinding. So this season he didn't start off well. I think he was rushing it a little bit. Okay, had a couple starting assignments that didn't go over too well when De'Aaron Fox was sidelined with a injury. So those didn't go over too well. Then we just figured it out. At least Mike Brown, his coaching staff, figured it out. He's much better just coming off the bench, at least for this system. And for the last 40 games, he's been on fire, offensively and defensively. Okay. Now you can trust him shooting that 3-pointer out there in the corner, at the top, get to the basket, when need be. Not every time, but when need be. Okay. He's been hitting some timely shots left and right for this time when they're in trouble. We can trust that now. Davion Mitchell is definitely going to be a key in this game tomorrow with the Pelicans, offensively and defensively. Okay, Trey Lyles as well, and Alex Len. And I think that's pretty much where it's going to be cut off, because most of that Golden State Warrior game, first play-in game, Coach Brown used and stuck with an 8-man rotation for most of that game until, the game was just totally, out of reach for the Warriors, and Steve Kerr started clearing his bench, and then Mike Brown, put in his reserves that were not playing. But for most of that game, and I would say a good 44 minutes of that game, 44 minutes of that game, he stuck with an 8-man rotation. And the only people that came off that bench was Davion Mitchell, Trey Lyles, and Alex Len. So I would look forward to that going into tomorrow's game with the Pelicans. And that's how he played it the first time. With Phoenix Suns. See, they beat the Portland Trailblazers. That was the last game of the season. Then they had to play. Yeah, they played the Phoenix Suns. Only eight players played in that game, and that was a close game. Okay, of course, Phoenix found a way to win that game, but that's pretty much how Mike. That's how he's rolling these days. At least going into the postseason situation. Mike Brown. Mike Brown. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen with tomorrow's game. We're about to find that out. But I will say this, and I said this a few games ago too. They're going to start talking about Mike Brown contract at some point. And I know it's going to be up and down going into next season, but I'll just talk about it right now. Because he signed a 4-year contract a couple years ago. What was that? May 9th, 2022. 4-year contract, $20 million. Okay, so he's about to finish up his second season in that contract. And at this point, no, you don't have to rush. Monty McNair, Wes Wilcox. No, you don't have to rush into talking about, an extension or anything. I understand that. I think everyone else understands that. Definitely the fans understand that. Okay. But there's nobody else out there who can coach this team but Mike Brown for the next few years. As we see these things take time. Okay. So this is the second season. Okay. You done been in the postseason. First time you automatically made it to the playoff because of your record. You had the number 3 seed last season. Okay. This year was a little bit tougher ride. Okay. We subtract 2 wins from your first year total. So you won 46 games this year. 46 and 36 after being 48 and 34 the first. Okay. That's it. That's it. Okay. You took the Warriors to 7 games last season. You lost 4-3. Okay. Then you come back this season after a rough season. And you beat the Warriors in a 1-game, single game elimination. And you're moving on to play your second play-in game against the Pelicans. That's progress. I don't care how you size it up. The personnel, the talent going to have to change going forward. We know that. Okay. The running back experiment should be done this year after this season. All right. But the coach have to stay in place. So going into the next season, I know there's going to be a discussion, but if it was me, hey, Mike, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about it now. We're going to talk a little bit about it right now. You and I, your agent and I, we're going to sit down. We're going to, we're just going to talk a little bit about this going forward. $5 million is good for a coach who is a championship level coach. Okay. But to keep things stable, to keep the system going forward, to keep the Sacramento fans happy, that's what's going to have to be done. Hey, I have not seen this type of coaching since Rick Adelman. I thought I had seen it in some other ones. Head coaches, over the years after the Rick Adelman thing, have moved on back in 2006. But this is where we are. Okay. I was quite surprised about the attitudes of some of these coaches that came in. I'm not going to name any names. At least their attitude towards black athletes and, anything black, but I'm not going to get into that. There were some coaches that I really thought was going to pull through and be successful. Definitely Luke Walton. I have to mention that because Luke was a professional the whole time he was here. Okay. Yeager, I don't know. Mike Malone did get his chance, but he was headed in that direction. I have more respect for him now than I did then. I had a lot of respect for him then, and that was his first coaching opportunity when he was the head coach of the Sacramento Kings when the new ownership came in under Vivek Ranadive. But Mike Brown, there's nobody else out there who could do this. Which segue into Jordi Fernandez. Assistant, what they call him, the associate head coach, Jordi Fernandez. It has been reported that he will be hired or have been hired by the Brooklyn Nets. And we all knew this was coming, whether it was going to be Brooklyn Nets, whatever. okay, that this man was definitely going to get his opportunity. We've been talking about him for the last season and a half since he's been with the Kings, and he definitely deserved his opportunity. And fortunately, I just stumbled across him before the Warriors and Kings, tip off, and he was with one of his one of his kids, sitting courtside with one of his kids, and one thing about what you see about these assistant coaches, they of course they are human, but these are really the ones who are they are in that situation, are family people. Okay, because I see this with Luke Lopes. He comes out with his whole family, before the game, and I see Jordi Fernandez come out there with his family. They're just out there relaxing, spending time with their family. Okay, now I know they spend a lot of time, working with the team, in the gym, looking at video, film, all of that, player development, blah, blah, blah. But it's a lot of things that I see with these other coaches. I'm just talking about the Sacramento Kings organization, that a lot of these cats, they're going to be head coaches at some point in their careers, okay? Doug Christie, too. And he's been around the Kings for almost 25 years. Doug Christie is next. Because at one time, I know he coached a couple games a couple seasons ago when Alvin Gentry was contracted. He, COVID, at least he was under NBA protocol. And Doug had to fill in for 2 games for him. And then later on, I'm learning, and this is for a fact, I'm learning that it's been some talks amongst college coaches for him, if anything. I know he probably wanted to stay on, at the professional level, but there was some interest in him from some colleges. Okay? And that's a fact. Okay, I don't know if it was head coaching or assistant coaching, whatever. And the way I see it, it can go either way for Doug Christie. I think he can coach at the college level as well as the professional level. I know he's just getting that experience, but at some point, he's going to get that opportunity. Bobby Jackson, who's the assistant coach for the Philadelphia 76ers right now, he's going to get that opportunity. He's going to get that opportunity. He's going to be sitting in a room with some executive, and they're going to want to ask him questions about where they can take their organizations as far as head coaching. So I'm glad this opportunity has fell in the hands of Jordi Fernandez. Great guy, professional, knows the business. I'll get to that too. And then I know he's going to be moving on. And we already talked about this anyway, months ago. We've been talking about it. We knew this was going to happen. I mean, he took the Canadian team, to a championship. So enough said right there. One thing, before I move on, talking about Jordi Fernandez, I was trying to get one of the first questions in the other night when Keegan was talking. Actually, that question came out before me, and I didn't like the question. Come back to me. I'm going to ask him again, but I'm just going to rephrase this whole thing because there was something else that was going there. And I was asking Keegan about the way he approached the game. He hit the first couple threes, and after that, his teammates were looking for him, blah, blah, blah. I think he had said something, about the coaching staff was like, they designed up a couple plays. I think that was Triano, okay? I want to say it was Triano, and they went from there, okay? Now, Jay has been a head coach before, but I understand that he can do it again. I think he had a stint up in Toronto. I think he might have been in Detroit. He definitely did coach the Phoenix Suns at one point. I think Jay will get another opportunity as well. But then we had a little locker room discussion. And when when I was talking about, Keegan and his shooting, that's what I was trying to get to. I mean, what was the strategy for you to come out the way you did? Who put what in your mind and said, this is what we're going to do? And he just said, hey, the first play was designed for me, and then they went from there. That's what I was talking about, okay? But anyway, then we got a chance to talk to I want to say it was Davion Mitchell or Keon Ellis. I want to say it was Davion Mitchell it was Keon Ellis, because they were throwing a whole bunch of bodies at Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson in that game. Okay, I watched that game again yesterday here at my home in its full entirety, and I was basically keying in how they were defending Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson. And of course, Keegan Murray, he started off defending Stephen Curry, and then at some point, Keon Ellis started off. He started covering Stephen Curry, and of course, we see some other plays. Next thing you know, De'Aaron Fox, he's in his face. Domantas Sabonis, they're in his face. Sometimes they were sending double teams and blitzes at Stephen. Well, Keon was able to share with that. It was something like at one point, I think Keegan had got a foul. Jordy Fernandez was like, okay, Keon, you cover Stephen Curry. Okay, and then Keegan would take his man. Okay, so all of that was planned, with those actions. Jordy Fernandez. Okay, and it's worked. Okay, I know they've been struggling, trying to learn that defense. I don't really want to put it all on some of the, the problems that they were having early in the season on Jordy, because these guys have to learn. They have to know, what aspects and what areas they need to be while they're playing defense, and staying in front of their man, communicating, when to double team. Okay, all those type of things have to come into play. Now they're learning that whatever system that Mike Brown and Jordy have put in place is now working. So I just wanted to bring that up, talk a little bit about this, because hopefully we'll see more of that tomorrow with the New Orleans Pelican game. But Jordy Fernandez. I wouldn't even say that it was going to be hard to replace somebody like this, because I'm also learning that Michael, he's kind of like a Jerry Reynolds type of person. Jerry is good at evaluating talent, and it didn't matter whether it's a basketball player, a broadcaster, or a GM. I've seen him do that on the level of the WNBA. Jerry Reynolds, he just know how to evaluate talent in these areas. Well, Mike Brown is the same way coaching. He has brought in an excellent coaching staff. He surrounded himself with people that he know he can work with, he know he can trust, and he know that they have a high aptitude in the area of coaching and player development. So whatever happens, the next man up mentality on his coaching staff, or he can go outside, and find somebody, he will be able to fill his spot. It's going to be a big loss, though, with Jordy, though. Real cool dude. Real cool dude. Okay. And then, as we already know, Lindsey Harding, okay, she interviewed for the Charlotte Hornet position. We'll see what happens with that. She did extremely well in the G League with the Stockton Kings. So hopefully she get hired. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. Okay, it's a really young team over there, and they need some help. Okay, they still got LaMelo Ball. They got an up and coming player with Brandon Williams, I think that is. Okay, out of Alabama, sharpshooter. Hey, she can develop that team into winners. So hopefully Lindsey get that opportunity. Okay, just moving on. I know there was some discussions. I know Kenny and Damian was talking about this, and we had mentioned this at one of the practices, at least before the Kings took on the Warriors, about De'Aaron Fox. and he was the steal leader in the NBA. Domantas Sabonis was the rebounding leader at 13-8, 13-7, 13-7, 13-8 or something like that rebounds. And then there was De'Aaron, 2+ steals. Well, which is kind of surprising to me over these last couple seasons, his defense has improved so much that I do believe that he should be on one of these two NBA all-defensive teams. Okay, I don't care what anybody else said, nothing like that. This cat deserved that as well. But we know the situation with Sacramento Kings, it's been a small market. Okay, we already experienced it, with Domantas putting up these historical Herculean numbers as far as double-doubles this past season. He can't even make the All-Star team, let alone Fox couldn't either. But De'Aaron has proved to be a defender in this league. He's a two-way player, but I'm specifically talking about the defense. And yes, he needs to be on one of these two players. My top players have, Rudy Gobert, Jaden McDaniel. Both of these guys are from Minnesota. And then, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And De'Aaron Fox. Those are my guys. I love Jaden McDaniel. I love the way he plays defense, man. He's a shutdown guy. Sometimes they have him on De'Aaron at time when they play Minnesota. So I'm Anthony Edwards had brought this up too, about Gobert and definitely Jaden McDaniel. Boom. All right. That's why they're in the situation that they are. They improved a lot, and they got the second seed. No. Yeah, they got the third. I think they're the third seed because Denver ended up being in number 2. Okay. But De'Aaron, that's my guy as far as all NBA all defense team. 1 or 2, he should be in there. I'm gonna give a DANG what anybody else will say or what they want to say or it didn't come out or whatever. That's how I feel about it. And I think that's the way it's gonna be. Because Mike did say De'Aaron still is not there. He's expect him to leap even higher. He can be an even better defensive player. Okay, this is one thing I have learned, because in De'Aaron's first couple of years, couple years in the league, he was really having a problem with people posting him up. Eric Bledsoe, another Kentucky player, used to give De'Aaron fits. Okay. So much of it was a mental thing, but De'Aaron figured that out, okay? Now, he understands about the posting, whether he's posting somebody up or he's getting posted. He understands the concept of it. He's deceptively strong himself. He has worked on that part of his game, okay? When you're doing that, okay, not only, you don't want to get punked out, nothing like that, you're working on your defense. When you're going to Doug Christie and say, hey, where were you at when, as far as steal leaders, okay? Well, I'm going to do better than that. He wants to be that type of player. He wants to be that defensive player, okay? Because I mentioned it earlier back in the season when we were looking at these charts, when we start understanding these steals that De'Aaron was getting, I was like, man, I didn't know Doug Christie was doing all of that. Okay, I know he was the best defensive player on that squad in the early 2000s. But wow, okay. And now here we got De'Aaron chasing down, his records, or at least passing him up in the steal charts. Whew. He wants to be a better defensive player. I think he's already arrived, but yes, as Mike said, there's more room for improvement. I take heed in that. Go for it. Go for it, young fella. All right. So I don't usually, do these in between games or anything like that. I most definitely won't be traveling to New Orleans. Believe me, I do want to be there, but I'm not going to New Orleans for no one game. Okay. I ain't never been to New Orleans. I tell you, I can't even tell you how many times I've been to that city more than any other metropolitans in this country. New Orleans. I have family in Jackson, Mississippi, so I usually fly into New Orleans, drive 2.5 hours up to Jackson, Mississippi, and when I'm heading back to California, I would drive back to New Orleans, stay there at least a couple days before I come back to Sacramento. So many things that's going on there. I just cannot do this one game thing. If it was a 7-game series and the Kings would, play their first 2 there, that would be the perfect opportunity to do that. Okay, probably won't go to Oklahoma City either. I could go there too, but I'm not going to there. But I expect them to beat New Orleans and get into that best of 7 series against Oklahoma City, but I won't be going there. Of course, I will be covering the games here, and then we'll go from there. No, I'm not doing Oklahoma City. No. But hey, thanks for tuning in. I will talk after the game tomorrow, win or lose. I'm high in on the victory side, so I'm looking forward to the Kings, to come back 5-1 against the New Orleans Pelicans. Meaning they already beat them 5 times. This is the one that's going to count. So I will be back after that. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of On the Cutting Room Floor. I'm the host, Tony Harvey. Okay, this is presented by Publicity Agents. I'm telecasting from the southwest part of Sacramento, the Greenhaven Pocket area. Hope everybody's doing well, for the rest of this evening. Peace in and peace out. Love and solidarity.